Thank you. Have a seat. Thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be here.
It's great to have you. Now, I should say to you and to the audience, we're going to have some serious conversation here, but we'll also have a little bit of fun because I'm going to ask you to, and our panel that comes up later, to play sort of environmental idol judge. We'll roll in a couple of the videos that people have produced for Planet Forward. I'll ask you what you think of it.
Very nice.
Whether you'd promote them or demote them.
Okay. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Would you do that?
Absolutely.
Would you do that for your political colleagues on the Hill, too?
No, we're neutral.
I see. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's start, though, by talking about what we're looking at right now, which is, we think, a Senate version of a climate bill that was supposed to come today, as a matter of fact, actually on Earth Day, and then today, and whatever. Is this the future? Is this something you can buy onto from what you hear of it?
I certainly hope so. I think what all of us are looking for is an opportunity to advance the ball. We've been, on the legislative front, we've been waiting for a while. The House took action a while ago. And I think there have been some pretty heroic efforts out there by the three bill sponsors to
Kerry, Lieberman, and Graham.
To try to move the ball forward, and that's what we need right now.
The Senate bill is not cap and trade in the traditional way that the House bill has been crafted. It starts with utilities in 2012 before moving on to other sectors. Its ultimate goal is to reduce carbon pollution 17% by 2020, 80% by 2050. Right equation?
Well, it matches the president's commitment at Copenhagen, and I think it's probably interesting time to meet even from an international perspective. We just finished a couple days of MEF meetings, Major Economy Forum meetings, and Copenhagen continues to be a turning point, but not what it was thought to be when we all started. I think the president's actions there were also heroic, helped to save us from moving to a path where we would have no agreement. But at this point, I think what the world is looking for, what I've heard from many ministers, is a commitment by this country that they can believe that shows that the president's commitment will be followed on, and so that's what we need.
So where's the president's commitment on another aspect of this emerging bill, which is maybe a 15-cent a gallon gasoline tax?
Well, I think the White House came out last week and said that's not what they're looking for from this bill straight out. I think that this is a time, there's a reason why this bill is about more than climate. Although I say to people all the time, it'd be fine for just me if it's all about climate. But I think right now there's a need for us to be able to answer, and I think the drafters are working hard on that, the concerns about what it means in this economy to say you can deal with energy in a way that's actually stimulative, that actually helps our economy. And I think that the White House rightfully, early on, pointed out that that's not where they're trying to go right away.
But why not a tax on gasoline? I mean, why not put the price up, this is the theory anyway, so that people change their behaviors and consume less?
I think people changing their behavior and embracing the idea of clean energy as something that's a national imperative is absolutely essential to our long-term success. In the political world that we all live in immediately, I think that there are any number of obstacles that this bill and its sponsors are going to have to overcome, and the first is the easy ways to take it down. This is really complex public policy. I can say that to this crowd because this crowd will appreciate that. And it lends, as we all know in Washington, the impetus is not that you make bad policy, the impetus is that nothing happens.
So what you're saying is put a gasoline tax as a poison pill? Is that what you're saying, politically?
I think it certainly has a headline that people don't want to discuss right now, and I think the president is rightfully saying that that's not part of the economic mix that the White House is looking at right now.
How about incentives for oil and gas drilling? That's in there as an incentive. The president has favored that, but a lot of critics say, A, there's not that much stuff out there, B, there's not that much extra area that's being put on the table, and it's the wrong way to go in any case.
Well, the president's been clear all through the campaign. I mean, when you voted for Barack Obama, you knew that one of the things he said during the campaign is that we need to have a full mix of energy sources. One of them is clearly additional offshore drilling, but there's lots to be discussed in terms of revenue. That's been a hot topic. The permitting issues have come up. I think it's an issue this country's going to have to deal with head on, and I actually applaud the drafters for not ducking the issue, and certainly the White House hasn't, but instead saying that's going to have to be part of the bill.
We've got some questions from people. We posted the fact that you were joining us, and people have been going to the site. Here's a question from John Luke. He writes in from California, back to gasoline again. What does EPA estimate gasoline will cost a gallon after EPA carbon emission regulation is fully in place? How large a tax on carbon is needed to make renewable energy economically viable relative to fossil fuels?
You know, it's a moving target. Let me talk a little bit first about mobile sources. Our primary way of dealing right now with all the greenhouse gas pollution that comes from cars and trucks and vehicles in general is through looking at state-of-the-art for the actual vehicle. So the CARS rule that we just finalized a couple of weeks ago really says let's move the state-of-the-art of the American-made automobile, the American automobile. Yeah, so we'll be at, what, 2016 we'll be at 35.5. We're already starting to get some pretty serious inquiries and discussion going about what 2017 plus means. So, you know, it's energy efficiency for cars. That's really what this whole side is about, because when you increase mileage efficiency, you burn less fuel, and so greenhouse gas emissions go down. That's the first way, and that's lots of room in there for efficiency and innovation. The other side of it is what happens through regulation. And I have heard people talk about what the impact will be on, say, refinery costs. The bill, I'm told, I haven't seen the language yet, deals with that in a different way. You know, refineries apparently have said, some of them, listen, we're willing to talk about a price on carbon, but we need a different trajectory than a more certain cost trajectory. And I'm interested in seeing what that language is going to look like.
What do you think the cost trajectory should be, and where are you on what because refineries are both making and contributing, right, to the carbon equation here?
Sure. Well, they emit carbon in their processes, and they also produce a fuel that eventually emits. You know, it's point of regulation. I'm understanding that this bill looks at the point of regulation at the production end, so it's pretty far upstream. The other point I was going to make, Frank, is that what it will cost changes. If we know anything from the history of regulation of other pollutants in this country, it's a moving target. As soon as this country really says we're going to regulate greenhouse gas pollution or legislate greenhouse gas, thereby putting a price on, it's no longer free to pollute, there will be innovations, both on the refinery end, on the fuels end, on the cars end, that suddenly factor in that price. So how much do you need today? Renewable energy is pretty expensive, but if you ever hear Stephen Chu at the Department of Energy talks, he's absolutely certain that those prices are going to come down and that we're going to reach a point where you don't need I've heard people say, oh, well, you need, you know, $70 a ton just to be competitive. And he absolutely says that's not true, that the price of technology is going to come down because it's the fact that there's any price on carbon is going to unlock a marketplace and a real sort of torrent of innovation.